Hey y'all, welcome to another What Else Is Going On, aka We Go Podcast YouTube video. I'm your girl, your host, Taria. Y'all, I have missed y'all. First and foremost, I want to send my love, shout out, virtually hug every single one of y'all that was at the Kempire After Dark live tour on Friday in DC, y'all. We had such a good time. I absolutely loved meeting y'all. Y'all don't even know. I know I said it then. I probably said it over and over and over again, but I just need y'all to know how good that y'all made me feel. I enjoyed meeting every last one of you. And for those of you that I did not get to meet, because I was talking to some of y'all in the DMs and didn't get to meet you, shout out to, I hope I'm saying it right, Dakari Graham. I didn't get a chance to wrap my arms around you and give you a hug. And what's crazy is we were joking in the DMs. I was literally on my way to DC and I was like, well, I'm a hugger. So let me know if you're not and we can fist bump. Just, I want to get consent. She said she was a hugger too, but I didn't get to see her. So shout out to you, Dakari. Again, I hope I'm saying that right. But for those of y'all I got to meet, oh my gosh, we had a ball. We had a good old time. Stacy from Potomac popped up and popped through. Now, y'all, we're going to get into Potomac in another video for my podcast episode for tomorrow. I have a special guest coming on. We're going to record that. Stacy showed out, didn't she, in the latest episode? But Stacy came through, answered as best as she could. I'm going to tell you this much. Stacy is a smart one. I know people say she has blonde moments or we need to give Stacy advice or smarten Stacy up. I think Stacy knows exactly what she's doing. And I especially don't doubt it because I'm an April 4th Aries. She's an April 5th Aries. I said, oh, she's smart. She know what she's doing. But we had a good old time. Shout out to Kempire. Let me tell you, I cannot sing his praises enough. Kempire has been absolutely amazing to me since we met. And over these 2 years, we've developed a friendship and he supports so much. And in this space, from the podcast world that I've been in to now in the YouTube world, he's one of the most supportive people and does whatever he can to support me. And I don't take that for granted. So shout out to Kempire. I'm going to try to get him on so we can, well, not try, he coming on. So if you watching this, you coming on now. So we could just kiki it up and talk. But y'all, I was smiling all Friday night into Saturday, Sunday. But y'all, thought I was going to give y'all a video Saturday. I got home thinking me and the hubby spent the night in DC. So then I'm thinking we're going to get up. We have breakfast. I was energized. Thought about going. I had thought about getting us tickets to the African American Museum. I've been, I think, 4 times. I love it. But due to the current political climate, I couldn't handle it. And I have to be very honest with y'all. I very strong mentally. And something happened from when Trump was in office the first time and then now that it is so hard. There's things that I want to talk about on this channel that I feel like we should be talking about, but it sparks such a rage in me that I almost feel like I can't keep contained, that I have to really look out for my mental health and not have this anger just simmering in my body because it's just so much. But so I didn't get us tickets to that. So I thought we would come home, hang out. I maybe give y'all a video. Y'all, we got home about 2:30 in the afternoon. I didn't even go upstairs in my house till about 10. We came home, got on the couch. I put my feet in his lap. I woke up and it was dark. Y'all, my body must have crashed. When I tell y'all I was exhausted, I slept all those hours, finally got up, went to bed. And then I normally wake up 3 or 4 every single night. I'd be like, God, are you trying to tell me something? Like, I slept through everything and didn't get up to like 5:36 on Sunday. So my body must have completely crashed. So then I came to give y'all a video yesterday about what we get ready to talk about now. I had like maybe 6 more minutes of the video. It was like recording stopped because you have not cleaned out your storage on your computer and we ain't got no more room. I said, forget it. Pack it up. Pack it up. We just going to do it today. So here we are. Thank y'all for getting through these first few minutes with me. I love y'all so much. Let's get into what we want to talk about. First of all, I'm just going to touch on it. It's not going to be in the heading because I probably don't have a room, but Bravo, all leads road back, all leads. See, all roads lead back to where? Bravo. I know that y'all probably have seen this, but we haven't discussed it as a family. So let's go. According to page 6, RHOBH star Erica Jane's son testifies in ASAP Rocky assault trial. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Erica Jane's son, who works as a member of the Los Angeles Police Department, was one of the first witnesses to testify in ASAP Rocky's assault trial on Friday. Thomas Tommy Zizzo Jr. Tommy Zizzo. It sounds like he belongs in Greece, don't it? Tommy Zizzo. Tommy. Anyway, from the Bravo star, who she had with her first husband, Thomas Zizzo Sr., was called to the stand as one of the cops who responded to the alleged shooting. He told the court what he saw when he arrived on the scene outside of a hotel in 2021, according to TMZ. Of course, we don't see him on the show. You don't know what I go through every night. Remember that when she went off on Eileen about Tommy and Erica did a lap for all the police officers? Okay, not Erica. I'm sorry. Eileen did a lap for all the police officers. I'm just gonna go do a lap. Child, anyway, good old days of Beverly Hills. Anyway, ASAP Rocky's trial began earlier this week after the rapper turned down a plea deal that offered him 180 days behind bars, a 7-year suspended sentence, 3 years probation, and 500 hours of community service. He also would have to enter a guilty plea to the most serious of the 2 felonies for which he was charged: assault with a semi-automatic weapon. The musician felt the deal would have cost him his livelihood. According to a source from TMZ, this would effectively end his career because he would lose all of his endorsement contracts, including Gucci, Puma, the Met Gala, and most important, he would not be able to tour and his career would be over, the source told TMZ. They would have him under their thumb for 8 years. The ASAP Forever hitmaker is charged with firing a pow-pow at a former friend, ASAP Relly, and is facing a 24-year prison sentence if convicted. He pleaded not guilty to 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm. So here's what I want to know, or what do y'all think? Because we're all just speculating here. I don't know about this part of the law, what it means if you're ordered this type of plea deal versus this type of plea deal. But I have seen 2 sides of this discussion on the social medias and things. So we know that he's charged with 2 felony accounts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm. The plea deal, again, that he was offered was 180 days, aka 6 months behind bars, 7-year suspended sentence, 3 years probation, 500 hours of community service. So I've seen people say that means that the prosecution knows they don't have anything, because for his charges to be so serious and they only offer him 6 months in jail, 7-year suspended sentence, 3 years probation, and 500 hours of community service, that must mean they don't have anything. On the flip side of that, I've seen people say, not that they were trying to be nice, but in so many words, like, they think that he's going down and he's going to get a lot of time with this jury trial. They think he's going to jail. I don't know how any of it works, but what y'all think? Can you imagine having to make that decision? Because I believe they let him know that basically a jury, like, you don't know what you're going to get with this jury trial now. We got Erica Jane's son, aka little Tommy Zizzo Jr., testifying about what he saw. Rihanna might be making trips up to the federal prison to see that man. Who knows? I wonder if he decided to do a trial because he saw Young Thug's trial play out. Y'all remember that circus that was out in Atlanta, and after 2 years, he ended up being basically had probation and stuff like that too, but he didn't go to jail, or didn't go to prison rather, because I think he was in jail during that trial, but he didn't go to prison. I don't know. We don't know what's getting ready to happen, but we will definitely keep updated with this story. Now let's move on. Y'all, we need to talk about New York. I want to talk about some things that have recently come out in the press. For those of y'all that haven't seen it, I did do a discussion video on New York. I Just Want to Talk. That's what it was called. It wasn't a recap of the season finale, but I just had thoughts and feelings around New York. And that episode that still just pinch at my nerve till today. But I want to get into some things that have recently came out. So first up, now this is according to Reality Blurb. I want to talk about Sai. Sai DeSilva defends herself against the RHONY finale backlash over Brynn and Ubah's feud, shares status with Jenna Lyons, plus if she will return for season 16. Let's get into it. After being confronted with several angry messages from viewers of the Bravo reality series, one of whom told her she should have told Ubah what was being said about her, potentially using Brynn's past essay against her, Sai explained why it was Jessel who intervened while also addressing season 16 and her status with Jenna. I wanted to address this so people can stop sending me angry DMs, Sai wrote on her Instagram story. I'm not sure where the confusion is coming from, but I was not in the room. I was in Ubah's room. How am I supposed to tell her information that I did not know? 4 people were in the room. The lady telling the story. These are Brynn's words. She said, these are Sai's words. She said 4 people were in the room. The lady telling the story, along with Jessel, Jenna, and Raquel. Y'all, she said the lady telling the story, which is interesting because in Brynn's Rolling Stone, she talked about how she misses her friendship with Sai Girl. Not the way this whole season. Anyway, nope, we're not going backwards. We're not going to, So this is all on Sai's Instagram story. So I'm going to show y'all this real quick so y'all can see. All right. So this was. All right. So here you have someone said, no offense, as Ubah's friend, you should have told her what happened. It took Jessel to do that. And then that's when Sai commented what she did about how she wasn't in the room. She's showing that Sai's addressing the RHONY finale and people sending her DMs. You see Raquel, Jenna, and Jessel when Brynn was telling her story about the essay. All these pop-ups get on my nerves. Then you see, she says, I left the room right about here. This is when Raquel, I guess this is Raquel and Brynn. And then she says, Sai is here. She was in the room so I guess she was still in the room after when everything went down, I guess. So then a while later on her Instagram story, Sai hosted an Ask Me a Question session with her fans and followers. Someone says, will there be another season of RHONY? She says, I know nothing. I'm not going to say there doesn't need to be another season of RHONY, but there definitely don't need to be another season of RHONY with this cast. And I don't mean bring Brynn back. Look, I don't like to say I think people should stop. People should be cut off from a stream of income. Because I wouldn't want anybody to look at me and just because they don't agree, not like me, say she should lose her job. However, there's some behavior that is so egregious that you need to be cut off from that stream, right, of income. I don't want Brynn to be broke, destitute. I mean, clearly she's not because she'd be flying in private jets and things, she says. However, I have to be honest and say I don't want to see her on my screen on The Real Housewives of New York or any other franchise or any other show for that matter. I don't ever want to see her. That's just me personally. So moving on with some more info about New York. Ubah is coming to speak. This is also from the Reality Blurb. RHONY's Ubah Hassan fires back at bully claims after finale feud with Brynn Whitfield, insists she never lied or caused conflict on the show. I thought this was interesting, y'all. Let's look at something that someone commented. After Brynn, 39, accused Ubah, 41, of using her past essay against her by suggesting she slept with men to get ahead in her career, Ubah, which people cannot like Ubah's response to Brynn picking at her. People have the right to not like it and think that Ubah's response was not cool, not being a girl's girl, whatever. People can feel that way. But to try to conflate the two is where the line for me. But anyway, Ubah was confronted by a viewer who accused her of horrible behavior and insinuated that she would never be a good wife or mother. So I'm going to show y'all this. Show y'all this as well. I said, these folks. So someone sent Ubah a message. They tried to, I guess they tried to be nice and block out the last name, but I mean, Sure, you can follow her. She said, I have never commented on a post ever. I love Housewives of New York, but you are the biggest, meanest bully I have ever encountered. No one stands up to you. I truly hope they get rid of you. I cannot imagine you as a wife and sure not a mother. Just horrible behavior. Shauna, whoever you are. So we just bypassing Ubah's responses to the person picking almost every single one of those wives. But I definitely recall Aaron sitting in the confessional talking about how Bren picks with Ubah, how Bren starts with Ubah. They said it. They said it. So instead of them telling Bren, chill, they would tell Ubah, stop responding. Temper your responses. That's the go-to, what used to be the go-to for Potomac when it was Ashley and Candace or whomever. They would tell Candace, temper your response, and not the people coming for her. Hey, how about you stop? They're doing the same thing in New York. To watch these women sit in a confessional, again, talking about how Bren picks with Ubah. They may have used different wording, but they were basically Bren poking at Ubah. The word poked was used, only to turn around and tell Ubah to change her response. Anyway, Ubah responded and said, this message speaks volumes about where you are in life. I have never lied, gossiped, or caused conflict on the show. I only respond when the nonsense becomes impossible to ignore. What you see may highlight my reactions, but not the reasons behind them. If you watch with an open mind and an unbiased perspective, you'd see that I never initiate drama. I only address it. Your hatred toward me is nothing more than a reflection of your own insecurities and lack of authenticity. Clearly, my confidence and straightforwardness triggered the cowardly in you. And for that, I'll say that's a you problem. Now, look, I can say the saying that really sometimes I feel gets over it. Sometimes I feel like this saying is used to defend behaviors, but we're going to say it. Two things can be true at the same time. Ubah is responding, and I am of the belief that you cannot dictate a person's response if you come for them. Because you don't know what you're going to get. You coming at a person, you don't know what's going on with them mentally, what they've been through, what they're thinking about, how they woke up in the morning, any of those things. So if you come for a person or start picking with a person, unfortunately, you don't get to dictate their response. I always say, if you throw a pebble and they throw back a boulder and it cracks your whole life, you shouldn't have picked for them by throwing the pebble, right? While at the same time, I can recognize that, yes, some responses are like, oh, whoa, I just threw a little tiny pebble and you throwing a boulder. I recognize that that's the dichotomy of life, right? That's life. Everything isn't black and white. So I can recognize that you don't get to dictate how I respond to you, while also saying, I know that my response was over the top, but guess what? It was my response. So there were times, of course, there were times when Ubah would be annoying and be like, girl, come on. But to me, it wasn't the times that she was responding to people. I'm just going to say that. It was the times when they kept showing her over and over and over again, talking about the water. And, like, it's like some of that stuff is like, okay. Even the joke with Abe, I get why she was irritated, but it could be dragged on. I get it. But that to me is just like, okay, that's housewife. Like, how many other housewives are like that? What she's not doing is try to destroy someone's character. Yeah, she tossed out, I don't know if you slept with somebody, because you coming for me saying, if you're not going to do anything, why are you even here? AKA, why are you even on the show? So it was like, I don't know what you did to get this job. I don't know if you slept with somebody, but I worked hard to get this job. Again, people may not agree with Ubah's response to Bren picking with her at that dinner, but that doesn't mean that Bren wasn't antagonizing her. And that's the thing. I think if people don't like you or have a problem with you for whatever reason, they'll focus on your response versus starting at A and not starting at C and working their way backwards. So this person, Shauna, get out of here. Because if you want to call Ubah out for her responses, call Bren out for her actions. Speaking of someone calling out Bryn for their actions, y'all, we need to get into. Remember when RHONY was first being cast and it was rumored about who was going to be on the cast? Do y'all remember a woman named Lizzy Savetsky? I want to read you an article just as a reminder, a little refresher from 2022. This was when RHONY had first started filming, the reboot had just started filming, and we started hearing about the new person, Lizzy, leaving the show. And then she came out and gave a statement that she was leaving the show. So this is from page 6, back November 21st, 2022. Okay. Again, this is just a refresher. A brand new member of Bravo's revamped, racially diverse Real Housewives of New York City left the show after her husband repeated the N-word on set while recounting a discussion between two of its stars, page 6 has learned. Last Wednesday, again, remember, November 2022. Last Wednesday, we reported that Lizzy Savetsky had left the show before she'd even wrapped her first season, saying she'd suffered a wave of anti-Semitism. From the time it was announced that she was joining the cast, I was on the receiving end of a torrent of anti-Semitism attacks. As this continued, I realized that this path was no longer right for me and my family. And while we heard there was more to the story, production insiders downplayed other drama beyond the online bullying. Now it turns out that, in fact, things went off the rails big time a few weeks ago while Savetsky was filming. Well, I'm going to just keep saying, while Lizzy was filming a scene with co-star Bryn Whitfield, and got worse from there. We're told Bryn asked Lizzy, who's an Orthodox Jew, who has a reputation as a matchmaker, if she'd set her up with a Jewish man. But Lizzy said that while she has no problems with Jews dating Gentiles, she prefers only to set up Jews with other Jews. She added that Orthodox Jews favor marriages between Jews to preserve the ethnic lineage. We're told that she explained that Judaism is not just a belief system, but also a people. Sources say that Bryn felt affronted and said something to the effect that Lizzy's terminology sounds like that was used by the horrific people, meaning Nazis, who did evil things to your people. That in turn shocked Lizzy. According to multiple insiders, the tension caused by the scene led to an off-camera phone call between Lizzy and Bryn, during which they discussed the power of racial slurs. We're told that Bryn, who is half Black, used the N-word during the call, but rather than using the term N-word, she said the word it represents in full. We're told Lizzy got the impression that Bryn planned to tell other castmates that Lizzy had also used the N-word during the call. Sources say that Lizzy's husband, Dr. Ira Savetsky, was outraged and reported the alleged incident to the show's producers. But they were told when he recounted this story, he said the actual N-word rather than saying N-word. We hear he later apologized, but the damage was done, and we're told that's when conversations began about the pair exiting the show. Insiders were keen to point out that Lizzy really did also experience an overwhelming volume of anti-Semitism online, and that the N-word incident alone was not the sole reason for her leaving the show. Okay. Now, let's get into, so that was November 21st of 2022. And I just wanted to refresh y'all memories about the conversations going on about why Lizzy left the show. And it was big. I remember it being highlighted that Lizzy's husband repeated the N-word, the actual word. Okay. Now let's get into what Lizzy has to say now. Vindicated, Lizzy Savetsky reveals the truth behind why she left RHONY as she backs Ubah Hassan and Bryn Whitfield feud. This is recent. This was the 23rd. Lizzy Savetsky, who was also set to star on the Real Housewives of New York City reboot, is breaking her silence on her mysterious exit in light of Bryn Whitfield's shocking behavior on the season 15 finale. The activist, 39, confirms for the first time ever in an exclusive interview with Page 6 that she left the Bravo show because of an explosive fight she had with a cast member, referring to Bryn. You can only hide who you are for so long. 2 years after Lizzy's exit, Bryn is feuding with another co-star, Ubah Hassan. In the finale, well, we know what happened in the finale and what Bryn said. 1 second. Lizzy says in response to what occurred between Bryn and Ubah, I was not at all surprised to hear about it, adding that she and the model, meaning Ubah, have bonded over their shared experiences. I stand behind Ubah and I'm so glad that her life wasn't ruined over this. Ubah is Muslim and I'm Jewish, and we had nothing but an incredibly loving conversation. She's such a special person, and to see something like this happen to her really breaks my heart. The social media influencer adds that Ubah was very emotional when speaking to her, with Ubah admitting she wanted to reach out but didn't want to reopen old wounds. She said to me, Lizzy, you've been vindicated. And I wasn't looking for it, but it's interesting to hear that. In 2022, Lizzy was a few weeks into filming her first season of Housewives when she got into an on-camera spat with Bryn over the decision to be a matchmaker solely for Jewish people. I like to set up Jews with other Jews because I have a lot of anxiety about the continuity of my people. According to Orthodox Judaism goes by the mother. If you're not a Jewish woman, your kids won't be Jewish. She claims Bryn, who is half black and half white, got upset over this explanation and made a racist comparison between Lizzy and the oppressors of Jewish people, Nazis. However, she admits that her former co-star never actually uttered the term. She said, I sounded like those people who did horrible things to my people. So instead of calling her, she just said, oh, when Lizzy said, I prefer to set up Jewish people with other Jewish people, because Bryn wanted to be set up with a Jewish man. And Lizzy said, nah, I prefer to set up Jewish people with Jewish people. Bryn says, you sounded like those people who did horrible things to your people. Girl, what? I felt extremely upset by the fact that production just kept rolling when that happened, because they all knew about the anti-Semitism that I had been experiencing. I was so concerned that this scene was going to create more anti-Semitism. Reps for Bryn and Bravo declined Page Six's request for comment. However, a source familiar with the situation tells us that what set Bryn off was that Lizzy allegedly said she was setting up those with a pure bloodline, which the biracial reality star took as a jab. The insider was not able to recall the exact words that the Jewish activist allegedly used and was not able to provide corroboration for that claim. Lizzy today, in response, says, this is a despicable accusation. So she's saying she didn't say she was trying to keep the original bloodline. She said she explained that the rules according to Orthodox Judaism are that Judaism is inherited from the mother. The Jewish men I was setting up at the time wanted to be set up with Jewish women, not with women who are shopping for a Jewish husband. I told her she was free to date whoever she wants, but my hobby of matchmaking was directly tied to my anxiety about the continuity of the Jewish people. I actually explained on camera that we currently have less Jews in the world than we did before the Holocaust. A second source with whom Lizzy discussed this matter at the time but was not present for the actual altercation reasserts the influencer's version of the events, alleging to Page Six that Whitfield invented a new narrative to justify her alleged implication of the word Nazi. Following the fight, it was suggested that the two women settled their differences on an off-camera call. Lizzy claims that it was during this phone conversation that Bryn allegedly told her, the next time you say something unkind about a Black person, I'm going to say you called them the N-word. But Bryn used the full word, allegedly. Upon overhearing this alleged threat, as the phone was on speaker, Lizzy says her husband took over and shouted, you come into our effing house, you weaponize our religion against us. I can't believe this. Lizzy says an executive producer on the line tried to diffuse the situation by claiming that Bryn was making an analogy. Who was the... A second source tells Page Six that Bryn never threatened Lizzy. However, Lizzy believes I was not protected by Bravo. As angry as I was with this cast member, I was much angrier with production. It wasn't a secret that I was getting all this anti-Semitic hate. So to hear this cast member do this to me and them not do anything about it was awful. During the heated call, Lizzy says Bryn began bawling and went into victim mode. She's the one who compared me to a Nazi, introduced the actual N-word into the conversation, and then started crying. After the call, Lizzy and her husband were set to film a scene in their house, but told the on-set producer that they needed to reschedule to take time to cool down. When recounting to that producer what happened on the call, however, Lizzy's husband repeated the actual N-word. Now, sir, we are not in time. If someone was Jewish and was telling me a story about a racial slur they experienced, and I was recounting the story to a producer because I was upset by it, I think I would not say the word. And it just makes me wonder and I'm not saying it, but even though he was just recounting the story, is he that comfortable saying it? Because I know a lot of people who are not Black, even if they were recounting the story and saying they said, they would pause and say the N word, but she said the word. It wouldn't just fall out of their mouths. He said, I hope not. Anyway, it's a mistake that he completely owns up to, and it's the only time I've ever heard him say it. He only said it quoting her and knows that it was wrong. It was just the heat of the moment trying to process what just happened. A source tells us that Ira's reiteration of the word left several producers feeling uncomfortable, adding he should not be using the N-word freely like that, especially when there are people of color on set. There were Black folks on set, just Black folks, just say it. Lizzy claims she was essentially fired for this incident, even though the network did not use that verbiage because she was technically under contract and has not received one red cent from Bravo. She also claims she was asked to make a statement saying she decided to leave, which she did. So her statement was, I will not be continuing on The Real Housewives of NYC. As a proud Orthodox Jewish woman, I thought participating in this series would be a great chance to represent people like me and share my experience. Unfortunately, from the time of my announcement in the cast, I was on the receiving end of a torrent of anti-Semitic attacks. As this continued, I realized that this path was no longer right for me and my family. A source familiar with the situation tells Page Six that Lizzy pinning her exit on anything other than her previous public statement is doing exactly what she's accusing Brynn of doing by twisting the truth. Yikes. Lizzy concludes, at the end of the day, I hold production accountable more than anyone. I've moved on. I would never do this show. The activist who works with anti-Semitism organizations received an award from Mayor Eric Adams and was honored by the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, with the Voice of Iron Award for her work defending Israel online, saying in hindsight, she is so happy that the spat with Brynn happened. I don't know if I would have had the strength to walk away on my own, and I'm living my life's purpose right now. When I see all this, I'm just incredibly grateful that I'm no longer a part of this show. So basically, her and Ubah are still in contact, and she's saying that Brynn is part of the reason why she lost her job, because she was explaining to the ladies, she's a matchmaker, matching Jews with other Jews. Brynn wanted her to match her with a Jewish husband. Lizzy said, well, I'm only matchmaking Jews. And Brynn allegedly says, you sound like the people that did horrible things to your people, trying to call her a Nazi. It gets heated. Producers want them to have an off-camera conversation. A producer's on the phone along with Lizzy and Brynn. Lizzy has it on speaker. Brynn allegedly says, the next time you say something bad about Black people, I'm going to say you called them the N-word, but she says the actual word. They get upset. Lizzy thinks that Brynn is going to accuse her of saying the N-word. They were supposed to film later on after that call. They asked producers for a minute. Her husband is irate and is like, you came into our home, and then recounted the story to another producer. And in his retelling of the story, instead of him saying Brynn used the N-word, he says the N-word. Lizzy says, oh, that's the first time I ever heard him say it, child. He don't say words like that. Look, I feel like we too old and too grown. Sir, come on. For it to fly out of his mouth so easy, I would be side-eyeing if I was a Black woman on production and you're recounting this story. That would kind of, like, no, wait. Nevertheless, they say he apologizes, and this is why she's no longer on the show. She said that Brynn allegedly started crying and played the victim on the phone after, I guess, her husband got upset with Brynn and yelled what he did. This is a mess. And to me, even you already know what happened with the previous housewives, right? And all of that stuff, the previous RHONY housewives. And then to be leading into a season with this already, it already comes in with an undertone. And look, if she's Jewish and only wants to matchmake Jewish people, I'm not mad at her for that. There are matchmaking services for Black women looking for Black men. They only match Black people. That's not racist. Bryn was upset because she wanted a Jewish husband, and Lizzy was like, well, I'm not getting ready to do that. I prefer to just match Jewish people with Jewish people. And for her to speak about how there's less Jews in the world now than before the Holocaust. I wouldn't debate that with her. That's her right to do that. She's a Jewish woman. I don't know if this is true, which it seems like it is. But again, back in 2022, we only got the focus was put on Lizzy's husband saying the N-word, which again, sir, you ain't have to let it flow out your mouth like that. You could have said N-word. However, we didn't get that whole backstory of Bryn being involved in that conversation. I'm not looking forward to the reunion necessarily, but we will be covering the reunion. We will be having a discussion about the reunion. Y'all think they're going to get 2 parts? Probably. They're probably not going to give them 1 part, right? I mean, I don't see what they have to talk about for 2 parts, but I guess they're going to give them 2. I'm assuming the first part comes on tomorrow. So I will be, all right, I'm not going to lie, I might not be seated, but I will be watching it the next day so we can have a discussion about it. Y'all let me know what y'all think about everything else that's now coming out to light after this debacle of a season finale. And I will talk to y'all later. Love y'all. See ya. Happy Monday. It's Monday. Yeah. Happy Monday.